Hi, this is Kali Star with Earth Matters, and I just wanted to share with you guys some of the more interesting vegetables that we have this week that some people don't really know what to do with. So, one of those is we're going to get kohlrabi, and that is actually one of my favorite vegetables. It became one of my favorite, and it looks kind of funny. It's a root vegetable, has these antennas attached to it that lead to the green top on it. It's really wonderful, and I actually treat it like a potato, and I also treat it like jicama. In that you can cook it into a soup like chunks like potato, or you can puree it into a soup and make it more thick and creamy, and you can also eat it raw. I julienne it into just tiny little bits. That's how I like to do it. You don't have to do it that way. You could just chop it up. I like it way better just julienne. So I take that and then I massage it with olive oil and salt. Then I'll add some lemon juice to it, and then I can add that to the rest of my salads if I want to, or I can just eat that on its own. I can put it on a topping for any other kind of food that I'm making, put it on topping for a soup. If you eat meat, you can put it on a topping for your meat. Okay, so that's kohlrabi. Now, what we also have is one of my most favorite vegetables ever, and this one is it's a bit of patience, okay, but I promise you it's worth it. It's one of the yummiest vegetables, and it's called fava beans. Now, with fava beans, you'll see a big green pod, and you'll open up the pod, and you're gonna take out these big beans. Now, the reason why it takes so much patience, the pod is pretty easy. It's big. It's not like a snap pea. It's not hard to get out of there. It's very very easy. But then there's these big beans, and they have skin around the bean. And so you've got to basically just cook those just a little bit so that the skin slips off of the bean. Now you're going to end up slipping off each and every one of those beans. Some people will eat it as a snack and will just sit there and, you know, eat one by one, slip off the skin, eat one by one. Or what I like to do is I like to add a few of them on top of a soup. It's really one of those things, you don't need a whole lot of it. It's one of those wonderful, oh my god, incredibly tasting things where you can put it, you just mix it with whatever it just adds more flavor and more fun to whatever else you're cooking, so I wouldn't think of it as like a bowl of beans. I would think of it as like, just something to add on top, and maybe even in your salads. One of the tastiest things ever, ever, ever. So make sure that you do cook it, and you don't need to overcook it. It's just I simmer it for a couple of minutes, and then I leave it in hot water for a few minutes. I pour that out, pour some cold water on top of there, and then I slip the skin off of the bean, and that's it. Add a little salt, add a little lemon. All right. Another interesting vegetable we have this weekend is the red boar kale, which is kale. It's just a little bit purple, which is my favorite color. So there you go. Anytime I can get red boar kale, I do. So I'm excited about that one. We also have collard greens. Everyone knows about collard greens. However, I just wanted to mention that with collard greens, you can treat it like kale, or mix the two together, and it's pretty great. If you want to make kale chips, you can make kale and collard chips at the same time. Collard chips are just as great as kale chips. So there's that. And the last vegetable is the ball squash. The ball squash is just a different shape, kind of zucchini. So it's a summer squash, and you just eat it like you do zucchini. Some people might get sunburst squash depending on what the farm has available. I did ask them. I said, listen, sunburst squash is my favorite one in the world. So if you have any of that, we'll take it. So most people will get the ball squash. Some people might get some sunburst squash, and it's bright yellow. It looks like a star, and it's one of the most wonderful. What I want to tell you about that is, yes, cook it like you do zucchini. However, if you're really into fermentation, my big secret is that, and this is after experimenting with all kinds of fermentations with seasonal foods, the when I've fermented zucchini, it turned to mush. But when I did the sunburst squash, it was the one of the best pickles I've ever had. So I just ferment it. It holds its shape. It's firm. It's really, seriously, one of the maybe the best ferment I've had. I've even put cordyceps mushrooms inside that ferment. That was really cool, and basil, and it's the best. So if you're into fermentation, try that one whenever we get sunburst squash. That's about it, guys. So what I recommend also with zucchini, because we're just heading into zucchini seasons, that means we're really excited about it. It's like, oh, finally zucchini. And then there might be a point later on where we're thinking, wow, I've had a lot of zucchini in these last couple months, right? So one thing I want to suggest is that I like to puree it in soup, but I also like to puree it to make a sauce. So if I'm making some rice and some veggies, I will cook this. I'll cook zucchini or summer squash, and then I'll puree it with some flavors and pour that over the rice and maybe put mushrooms on top. And it's a pretty cool sauce. It's creamy, and you're eating a really great vegetable. So I love that. I love doing that. Anyhow, so that is the scoop for this weekend, you guys. I'll see you next weekend when I talk about some of the things that are in the box next week. Oh, and guess what? Stone fruit is just around the corner. That's peaches, nectarines, plums, that kind of stuff. It'll start to roll in. So citrus is ending. And what I want to tell you guys is please put the citrus in the refrigerator. Because it's the end of the season, they really don't last very long on the counter. Please make sure to put them in the refrigerator. And wishing you all so much health and happiness. Thank you so much for your support and have a blessed day. Thank you.